There are unicorns in the Bible, at least a couple of them. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. Let me quote a couple to you. Numbers chapter 23. God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Job 39. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his, his bounds in the furrow? You probably already spotted it by the language that it was using, but these are all in the King James Version of the Bible. There's about 6 or so occurrences or verses that have the word unicorn in them in the King James Bible, and it actually appears in more than the King James, let's be fair. It appears in the King James, in the Geneva Bible, and the Douay-Ramsey Bible. These are all really old translations of the Bible that rely on the Latin Vulgate and the Septuagint, and they are they're translating the Hebrew word re'em. Don't go get your kids or grandkids quite yet, because you guessed it, that's not the right word. The word re'em is more accurately translated something like wild ox. When you go to an accurate translation like the New Revised Standard Updated Edition, you're going to find it translated like that. And this is one of the many reasons why you shouldn't be using the King James Version of the Bible. Because in the hundreds of years since the King James Bible was translated, we understand those languages a lot better. And that's because ancient languages that aren't spoken anymore, our understanding of them evolves over time as we discover more and more texts that use those languages. And so, when the people who were translating the King James, the best they had was the word unicorn for this. But it turns out the more we've learned about ancient Hebrew, the more that's really not what it is. That's not a good translation. And unicorns don't exist. Don't get me wrong, I want them to exist. The world would be way cooler with unicorns in it, but it's just not accurate. And when you are trying to sort of understand a sacred text like the Bible, it's important to use translations that have a modern understanding of the original languages, so that you're reading something that has, I guess, somebody's best guess, a group of really smart people's best guess on what the correct translation between this ancient language and this modern one is. And just a little bonus debunking here, a lot of people will say, oh, but I want to read the King James Version because it sounds old, because people used to talk that way a long time ago, and it reminds me that the Bible is really old. And it does sound old, but nobody actually ever talked about like that. In fact, when the King James Version first came out, one of the primary frustrations that people expressed with it, because it wasn't popular when it first came out, one of the primary frustrations they had was that people didn't talk like that, and it was hard to read. And that has to do with how the people translated the text. They used the Hebrew syntax to translate it into English, and that's problematic in so many ways, but that's another video.